Dave the Sign Guy here, and today I thought I would talk to you about what I've been up to most recently. Has to do with that box right there. So I don't know if I've talked about this in a video recently at all, but I sold my van, and that was over a year ago, and I since bought a Ford 6.5 foot bed, regular cab, F-150, 4x4. Really nice little truck, and I'll put that in another video. But what this video is about is my next major project, and that's a pop-up camper that will fit in that 6.5 foot bed of my truck. And this camper is a little unique because it's not going to be a cab over. It's literally going to sit in the back of that truck, pop up, bunk beds. You know what? Let me just show you. So this is the beginning process. This is the main tub or body build of my newest camper. And this will be as I said, a pop-up camper. So again, this is the main body. I haven't started on the door or the top yet. In this part of the van, this part of the camper, there'll be a window in the door, and there'll be, as you can see across and through, a window in the front. All other windows and ventilation will be in the roof and in the pop-up section. But for now, let's just talk about this for a moment. This is being built using strictly 3/4 inch plywood as my timber links and everything, which I cut down to just a fraction over an inch to use as my main build timber. And then that is covered in 1/4 inch plywood all the way around, top, bottom, sides, floor. And what we got going on up here is a lip for the top to come down over. And I provided it with a nice little 45 degrees, so as the top comes down, and if it's off a little, it'll hit that and finally rest on this bottom section. So hopefully thinking a little forward. It's got 1 inch insulation, and it's done like a composite. And what I mean by that is it's got a layer of 1/4 inch plywood, and in that plywood, using construction adhesive, is glued to foam, and then on the other side, plywood with, like I say, the frame structure in between where needed. So let me just show you what I mean by that. So before I started building this camper, I wanted to do a test piece to make sure what I envision will actually work. Now, I've been online, I've watched a lot of guys, do something very similar to this, if not almost exactly the same, but I made just a few little changes. So what you have here is, again, if you look at the side profile, 2 pieces of 1/4 inch plywood with 1 inch foam sandwiched in between. And then what will be done is what's called poor man's fiberglass. If you haven't heard of this before, it's basically a way to do a hardened exterior similar to fiberglass without the cost. And I gotta tell you, I was shocked after I put this together how durable this thing really is. And I'll give you an example of that shortly. But once you build the actual composite, just like the camper itself, you coat the whole piece. And in my case, I'm doing the inside and outside of the camper this way, which is probably overkill, but I like overkill. But you coat the whole piece in wood glue, Titebond 3 wood glue. Then while wet, you lay canvas over top of that. And you rub it down so it's all making really good contact and nice and smooth. Then once that dries, I give it a very quick sanding because it will harden. And then I put, you don't sand it yet. Then after it dries, you go ahead and you put down another layer of that same Titebond glue on top of that, and you let that dry. Once that dries, you then give it a light sanding, and it makes it nice and smooth. It gives it a very nice smooth surface. Now, in a lot of videos I've watched, most people go over it after that with just an outdoor paint, with 2 or 3 layers of outdoor paint. And honestly, paint doesn't do well expanding and contracting with the weather. And wood and cold and heat, and wood will expand and contract no matter what you do. So what I did, which is very different than anything else I've seen, it will cost me a little more but not a lot, is I put the same material you use to coat the inside of a shower before you get ready to grout it. It's a waterproofing membrane. And it literally comes in a pinkish color, and when it dries red, but it literally will make this whole thing totally waterproof. So that is the next step, and then I paint it. But what I do when I paint it is I Raptor line it. Now again, these two methods are a little more expensive, but I just think that for durability reasons, you can't beat it. Okay, so this is called Red Guard. This is the waterproofing and crack prevention membrane that I put on right after I sanded the Titebond 3 glue. And you let that cure. And it dries pretty fast, but I like to give everything a 24-hour cure period anyway. But once that's dry, I didn't sand it again. I went straight to Raptor liner. And, well, here, let me just pause for a second and bring up a sample to show you the durability. So again, this was another sample I did to experiment with the durability and the feasibility of actually doing this. You can see that I purposely cut the canvas a little short, and you know, technically you don't even have to do the canvas part. I think you could actually get away with just coating the wood in this and then Raptor lining it. But you know, I'm already committed to the process, and I want to make this as super strong and light as possible. So I took a ball peen hammer to this board and a screwdriver to this board to try and scratch it. You can very lightly see the screwdriver marks. And of course, you know, if a rock comes hitting you, it's not going to come with the force of a ball peen hammer coming down on it, but that really, really took a beating. Now, a lot of people do what's called foamies, where it's just the foam and then they do this process right on the foam. But my worry is if something hits it, it'll do the kind of damage that you can't just repair easily. I could easily sand this little area, fill it with wood or body filler, re-Raptor line it, and you'd never even notice it's there. So durability wise, if you take this camper off-road and branches are sliding up against it or what have you, it should be very, very durable. So that's my take on the poor man's fiberglass and how I'm choosing to do it. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that other people have done it on the internet or YouTube. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I watched a lot of those videos, and I just decided that this one extra step of waterproofing with something that's actually designed to expand and contract a little bit, almost a little rubberized as a membrane, is a much stronger, better way to do the exterior of the camper before I actually paint it than to just paint it and have that stuff cracking. Now, I've seen a lot of guys that have done it and it's lasted 2-3 years, no problem, and then they repaint it. Well, I don't have a problem repainting my camper, but I want it to last years and years, so that if I sell it in 2 to 3 years, I don't have to paint it just to sell it. It's still as good as new. And my theory is, if I'm gonna build it, I'm gonna build it as if I'm selling it. Now, that's not my intention. It's not my intention with most of my self-built projects, but sometimes things just go the way they go when you build something and somebody else likes it. So just a brief look inside. I don't want to go over too much because I'm going to start showing you more as I go, but that's one twin bed right there. And above that, if you see, there's 30 inches of sidewall. So I'm going to have a second bunk twin bed that will fold down as a couch. So you can lounge or sleep, 2 people in this camper. On this side, there'll be an air conditioner. That's what the vent hole is for, along with a sink and induction stove. And on this side will be drawers and a power source. And then down over here, and I'm gonna bring you down through the door, is again that twin bed, and you can see that space under the twin bed. Well, what we're gonna have there is a 20 water gallon tank up against the front of the truck, so that helps with balancing weight. To the left, in front of that, will be a porta pot, and to the right will be a pull-out refrigerator. And then just below all that will be another 2-drawer system that you can store shoes or whatever in there. So hopefully I'll have plenty of storage for a 2 or 3 day camping trip, or even longer if we decide to go, further away from home. Forgive me for the fuzziness, but that's because I'm recording the screen on my computer through my iPhone. But this is vaguely what she's going to look like. Not vaguely, pretty much what she's going to look like when it's all said and done. This is done in SketchUp, which is a free program you can get right online. You can use it online. But this will give you just a very quick idea. I don't want to get too involved here, but rather than trying to just verbally describe it, show you exactly what my intentions are. And hopefully in this design, I will end up with enough space to really be able to take some nice trips without having a big, heavy camper on the back of my truck. I'm trying to build the camper that's of high quality for under $3,000. Now, the only thing that should not include is the power supply. I happen to have a Yeti power supply that I got about 1.5 years ago from a Kickstarter campaign. And they still make it. It's a great power supply. So that's excluded. I'm not counting that portion because that's an expense I've already made. But with a cheap window air conditioner, a plug-in heater, because we do intend, we're a little older, so we do intend to use our camper at campgrounds. So with a plug-in heater, refrigerator, all those things, I'm trying to build this for under $3,000. But again, a high quality build for that money. So I just personally don't like what I see on the market as far as build quality, whether it's the exterior, the interior, the way things are slapped together. This whole thing is being built with glue and screws and nails, but it's being built to be rigid for a long period of time, hopefully years and years to come. Now, will I keep it that long? I don't know. I'll probably end up going on to the next project by then. But I'm hoping to build this to keep it long enough to enjoy it for the first time while I move on to the next project, which I'm hoping might be a schoolie. I don't know, it's really far in advance, at least a year, but I'd really like to do a schoolie next. But this is an intern project to get me going on building something that's fun, practical, and lightweight. I want this to stay under 600 pounds, and I know I can do it. So yeah, and again, that's without this power supply. Power supply itself, they weigh like 80 pounds all by themselves. So, but just the camper base with everything in it, I'm trying to keep it around 600 pounds, and I think we can do it. So check back with me soon. I'll be putting out another video when I get a little further along. This is not a how to build it video. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So I'm not going to be showing specifics on how I'm doing things. But definitely keep you along for the ride as I'm building to show you what I've done and why I've done it. So this is Dave the Sign Guy. You have a good day, and I'll talk to you again soon.